Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to this week's segment of the Black Girl Inspire Her. I'm your host, Sheniqua Inspires, and I hope that you all are loving this series thus far. There have been so many nuggets released, so many gems, and I hope you are watching and picking up each and every one of them. Today is going to be no different because you already know I'm excited, but today is definitely going to be no different. So make certain you got your notebook, you got your pen, and you are ready to get this inspiration. Listen, I'm just going to forewarn you all that I'm bringing in a heavy hitter this week. Now, I know some of the others have been hitting heavy and you've been getting some good stuff, but today is going to be no different. We are bringing the heavy artillery in, and she is going to give us some inspiration. So, without further ado, I bring my sister friend Tanya Jones to the stage. Hey, girl, hey. How are
Hey,
you?
good morning. Good morning. How are you? I'm wonderful, blessed. How are you doing this morning, ma'am?
I am doing well. Now
I'm
I
doing
understand you
wonderful.
keep saying good morning because you are traveling, so that happens to you when when you're
Good
traveling.
afternoon,
But
everyone.
listen, that just speaks to the woman that you are. You stay super busy. You are everywhere. You are doing the daggone thing. And honestly, I'm just honored. I'm honored that you would take a moment of your time to sit with us and to offer some words of inspiration. Now, I do know a little something about you, but I want you to tell everyone, who's Tanya Jones? Who is she? And why she got to be sitting here? Who is she and what does she bring to this conversation?
Good morning. Good morning. And you know what? It's so funny that you said that because someone said that to me recently. They was just like, "Who are you? Like, who are you?" And I just said, "I'm just me, Tanya." And so I thank you so much. I appreciate you allowing me to be here with you this afternoon. And you're right. I've been doing so much traveling this last week that sometimes I don't know what time zone I'm in, but I'm so honored and excited to be here with you. So, yes, my name is Tanya Jones, and I am the CEO and founder of Interactive Advocacy. And I'm so excited about the work that we do there. And simply put, I tell people all the time that I'm a mom, I'm a veteran, I'm an advocate, I'm absolutely a creative, and I'm a thriving survivor. And that's just a little bit about who I am in a nutshell. And I'm also an author. I love to write.
Yes, and you're really really great at doing that. So I know I see we have a little connection issue going on, but we want to make certain that the people don't miss a word of it. So you mentioned about being a thriving survivor. What is that? Like,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, thank you so much. So, being a thriving survivor for me, I experienced childhood trauma. That's basically what it is, and like many people, my story, my with pain and trauma is complex. But because I've experienced childhood trauma, I decided that I wanted to use that pain and turn it into something that I'm passionate about, which is allowing me to be creative. And I didn't allow the trauma that I experienced as a child and as a young adult to determine who I was going to be, or how it was going to define me. I decided that I didn't want to allow it to do that. But again, just a thriving survivor is a person that recognizes that they have experienced trauma in their life and that is decided to be empowered in spite of it and use that trauma and that pain and turn it into something positive, not just for ourselves on our journey to being resilient, but also to being a voice or a soundboard for those individuals that feel that they're not ready in that space to maybe tell their story, or they're still experiencing trauma, and to be able to be that voice and to speak out for those who feel like they can't do it for themselves yet. And I just didn't allow it to define who I am as a person.
I love that. I love that. Now, we have you here specifically for a purpose. And I really wanted Tanya to be here with us today to talk about tapping into that creative energy, because I believe that that's something that we all have. We just may not have tapped into it. So, Tanya, I want us to get us into the conversation about that creative energy. But can you start us with what is creative energy? And then I want you to let us know, at what age did you first identify it and what it looked like in your life?
That's a great question. That's really a great question because first I want to say that I didn't realize how much of a creative I was until I got a little bit older. For me, it was just a form of being expressive. And art can do that, right? Art can take on a very expressive forms and become something that's very tangible and that can be shared with the entire world. And I'll go back a little bit further than that. I came from a family of artists and didn't even realize it, right? My
Mm,
grandfather was a painter. My mom is a singer. I have an aunt that's a fashion designer in New York. And so I was surrounded by so many creatives and didn't realize that they had sprinkled some of it, onto me. For me, being able to write and journal and tell my story, which was very personal at the time, was pretty much how I got started. And I want to say that that was probably maybe when I was around 9 or 10 years old. My sister, she used to share with me that she would always see me in a corner somewhere writing, and she just assumed that I was just kind of like writing my diary. And so I think that that's
mhm,
where my ability to start writing, my desire to want to be able to get it out, because that back then we didn't have therapy, right? Families didn't talk
mhm,
about the trauma that we experienced or some of the things that was going on. And even if they did, they really didn't know how to process it. It was one of those things where it was like, okay, I hear you, but just don't share that information with anybody else. And
right,
so I
right.
needed to be able to express myself, and being able to write my stories allowed me to be able to do that. And what ultimately that manifested into is just me taking my ability to write and just expounding on it. I love writing, again, short stories. I love writing poetry. I just feel that it just being creative naturally was a part of my healing journey, and being able to pour myself into something that was so personal, right? I didn't
Mhm,
have to share it with the world, but I could pour everything into it: my fear, my passion, my frustration, my anger. I could be as vulgar as I wanted to. And it was
mhm,
a way for me to release. And ultimately, it was my first form of therapy. And then as I started to write more, I realized that I could do something else with this story. And
mhm,
my first actual playwright is the first performance that we did with interactive advocacy, is our no words performance. And our no words performance is actually my story. And it's a story of a young woman who was, attracted to a guy, and ultimately ends up being sexually assaulted.
mhm,
And I appreciate about that story is, because I have actors that are basically playing me, is that we can change the ending of the story. And by changing the ending of the story, it was so empowering for me that
wow.
could I could say things and I could do things and I can take my power back. And
Yeah.
now I can see the story portrayed in so many different ways, and I love it. And every time that performance is portrayed, there are so many people in the audience that'll come up to me and just say, "Thank you so much for sharing this story. Thank you so much for being so transparent." But the biggest thank yous have been, "Thank you so much because you have just empowered me to tell my
Mm.
story, because I haven't come forward and said that I'm also a victim of sexual assault."
Wow, 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 wow. So much right there, so much right there, and I hope that you all are getting every bit of that. First thing, when my spidey senses started tingling, you literally took the words that were in my heart and in my mind, and you spoke about creative healing. So you
Yes.
were able to flow in that, and I'm going to want you to touch on that just a bit more because it was just so
Yes.
powerful, and I don't want you all to miss any of it. But another thing that oh God, my God, Tanya, I'm so sorry, like it's just so many things that I want to just talk to you about. But you also mentioned about the no words. So I that performance where you were now able to change the ending. So you were telling your story, but you took control of it rather than being the victim and woe it's her. You were able to have that creative authority to say, I'm going to change this up. I'm going to fine tune this, and I'm going to be the heroine. I'm going to be the one who's the victor in this situation. So I love that. And if you all don't take anything away from that, I want you to make certain that you sit in that. That if you use that creative energy, that you literally can tell your story your way and then change the ending of it, like change that joint up. How grab control of the situation, and you now became the one who is the ultimate warrior in that story. So before I have you go into creative healing, I want you to talk a little bit about that. But I just wanted to ask you, that no words performance, were they doing it without words?
Well, no. So that's a great question. So
Mm-hmm.
the reason why the performance is actually called No Words is because, when you think about trauma, there's so many different things going on. A lot of times people tend to ask, "Well, did you say stop? Or did you say no? Or did you say you didn't want to do this?" And the truth of the matter is that all of those things are just further victimizing the victim, right? It's just another form of
Mm-hmm.
re-victimization. If I said nothing, what failed to happen in that situation is that that other individual neglected to notice my body language and the fact that there were non-verbs that actually took place. So even though I may not have been able to articulate the word no because you're in shock, you're in fear, you're in disbelief as to what's happening. None of that was my fault. Because I could not utter those words did not mean that, okay, well, I was a willing participant in this situation because I wasn't.
Right.
So no
Right.
words does not have to be something that is said, but it should be something that's recognized because of the non-verbs, my body language. So that's where
Mm-hmm.
no words came out. So in the performance,
Powerful.
there is a simulated scene right before this thing happens, this assault happens. And if you looked at the character's body language, pushing the perpetrator off of them, and
Mm-hmm.
things that ultimately made this person think that I meant, oh, you just mean no, not right now, or you just
Mm-hmm.
mean I need to push a little harder. And so the whole reason behind no words is very symbolic. There doesn't have to be any words. I could have said nothing.
Mm-hmm.
A person that is a victim of trauma doesn't have to say anything. That doesn't mean that they're compliant or they want to be an active participant in what's happening. That person failed to get consent, and that's where they crossed the line. So that's the whole
Right.
meaning
Right.
behind the no words performance.
I love that. And oftentimes that's the first thing that people will ask. And they'll say, well, did you say no? Did you tell them to stop? Or did you give consent to be in that environment? And it makes the victim even more victimized by the insinuation behind those questions, as if you had said no if that would have changed the outcome. So
Absolutely.
I love the premise behind the no words, because and this is something that we need to make certain that our youth are well versed in recognizing the signs, the body language of someone saying no, this is not okay with me. Like, I don't have to
Absolutely.
say that I'm uncomfortable in this situation for you to know that I am indeed uncomfortable with it. So getting to know the signs, so that is so powerful. And I want you all to make certain that you stay connected with Tanya, because this is something, what it is that she's doing in her company, Interactive Advocacy. This stuff is powerful, and it really is beyond what we're seeing lately. So this is like some new age, bringing to light, heavy hitting, having the conversation about the uncomfortable conversations. And I'm
Absolutely.
telling you, you've got to glean this. And I can't wait till that production comes around again, because I need to make certain that I'm in the room, because I do want to see it for myself. But Tanya, I need you, and I know the people need you to talk about that creative
Yes.
healing. What could you
Yes.
share with us
Yes.
about that?
So again, because art is something that takes on that tangible form, being a creative tends to have a mind of its own. I think we're all creatives by design. You know, whether you're a singer, a dancer, a spoken word artist, a writer, someone that paints, sings. You know, art just allows us to be creatively free, and in
Mhm.
that form of freedom comes healing, right? And we're able to pour into it and express ourselves in ways that we may not be able to just articulate, right? So, because at a young age, I was not able to put the words together to say that this is what I had experienced, I was able to tell those stories and write them down. And who knew that later on I would be able to go back and reflect on those stories, and ultimately they would be able to turn into some of the projects that I'm working on today. Many of the stories that you see, many of our performances are my story. Some of them are derived from some of our other team members that are also thriving survivors as well. And you know, when you think about acting, right, and being able to go on stage, you're able to feel so empowered and take on the role of such big characters, whether it's with comedy or with drama. You know, you're able to express yourself freely, and it's that freedom that empowers us. And what I would challenge everyone with is to be able to tap into that creativeness. And it's something that you're doing just for yourself, right? You know, at first it wasn't necessarily that I was doing this for other people. I was doing it for me because I
Mhm.
was the one that needed to heal. So anytime I could go and create something new, it gave me a sense of calm, a place of peace. It was one of my happy places. And I have a few of them, but it was one of my places that I could get lost in. I could be free in, and I can imagine. And even if I was in the midst of a bad situation, I could see myself through that situation through art, through being creative. And I remember I was having a conversation with my son, and I have two sons that, or I have three sons, but two of them are also creatives. One is into music and art, and the other one is into kind of art, draws and fashion designs and that kind of thing. So it's definitely something that has spilled into my sons as well. And but one of the things I used to say to my youngest son is that you get some of your artistic creativity from your father, because he also draws and he sings. And he said, "No, mom, while I do get a little bit of it from him, I get a whole lot of it from you, because I've only always known you to be creative, whether it is creating jewelry, whether it is making, you know, these beautiful, amazing cakes. I love to bake, like wedding cakes and all of this. Whether it's, you know, doing interior design, or whether it's just you finding time by yourself to write. I've always known you to just be a creative individual, a creative artist." And he said to me, "Mom, you are art." And one of the things that I am expressing myself now with is creative expressive pieces, where I'm doing more monologues and just allowing myself to constantly tap into that, because it's forever changing, it's forever growing. And I tell people all the time, I'm under construction. Like don't
Always.
don't
Yes.
don't think that just because you see me here that I'm okay and I'm perfect. No, I am absolutely under construction. So I need to be creative. I need to
Mm,
be creative. I need to be able to tap into that. And if everyone would just allow themselves to be, silly and fun and just tap into that thing. And you're not doing it for anyone else. It's all for you, right? You're the one that has to enjoy it. So if you enjoy it, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks about it. But it's also
right.
something that when you're ready, it can tell your story, right? You ever go to a museum and you see a painting and it moves you, it gives you goosebumps. You can see and hear and feel the story just for that piece of work,
Right.
right? So art and being a creative has the ability to tell your story even if you can't get it out of your mouth. And then now,
Mhm.
not only is it healing to you, it's healing to everyone else that's watching or that's a part of it. So I challenge everyone to be able to tap into that creative side.
Yes, I love that. Now, Tanya, I know there are some people who are watching and saying, well, that's fine. Tanya's great at that. Her son calls her art. Like, that's what she does. But I don't have a creative side. I don't sing. I don't do art. What would you say to someone who literally says that they don't have a creative side?
I would say that I disagree. And the reason why I would say that is because you don't know what you don't know. It's really about finding your passion. So maybe it
Mm,
may not necessarily be about singing. My mom can sing, I can't.
mhm,
So
mhm.
you know what I mean? But I don't mind singing in my shower. But that's really not
Right?
what it's about. It's about finding that thing that gives you freedom. It's about finding that thing that puts you in a place of peace and wholeness. So whatever that is for you,
Mhm.
maybe it's the way that you dress. Maybe you like to put you have an eye for color and you like to put bold pieces of clothing together, and that's the way that you are able to express yourself. It's more about being expressive and allowing yourself to be expressive so that you can feel comfortable with who you are, and recognizing that if you are dealing with any situation, right, no matter what it is, that it doesn't have to be the only thing, especially if it's negative. It doesn't have to stop right there. You can turn that situation into something positive. And art turned my trauma into something positive. So if you find that thing for you, if it's working on cars,
Mm,
if it is rollerblading, whatever that
mhm.
is that you're able to allow yourself to be comfortably, um, organically free in, then put your energy into that, just as long as you're not putting it into that thing that's negative.
Yes. I love that. Like, and you even mentioned like how one of your areas of creativity is the baking. Someone else, you could be, cooking. You love to go into the kitchen and creating, these extra special recipes, or you just kind of whipping it up. You're not even following a recipe. You're just going based off of your spirit, right? People say
Mhm.
that they cook with their ancestors. The ancestors tell them to add a dash here, a dash there, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
That's a way to be expressive in who it is that you are. And one of the areas that I find, I too am a writer, and I've always loved to express myself through writing, even from a young age, in the diaries and the journals and things of that nature. But where I'm finding myself in my adulthood is I really like videos. Where other
Mm.
people shy away from being in front of the camera, this platform that God has given me is literally a place of passion. So it doesn't matter
Mhm.
what's going on with me. I can get up and I can record. Baby, once I get my hair on and the makeup on, I am ready to go. And I like, and it's a passion and it drives me. So I literally can record day in, day out without, taking any breaks, without eating. But let me be on the job somewhere and I'm complaining because I haven't had a moment to sit down and have a lunch break. I haven't gone to the bathroom. But that's where is your creative side, that passion, that thing you would do from sun up to sundown, that thing you would do whether somebody was paying you or not, that thing that you would do whether you got a chance to take in food or any type of nourishment. That's where the passion is. So
Absolutely.
for those people who are thinking that this is something that's above them, it's not. You just have to follow Tanya's advice and really just tap into that side of you, and you can literally use that to heal. Like you're taking, and one of the words that you said, Tanya, was the freedom. Like
Absolutely.
being expressive gives you your freedom back, where you may have suffered trauma or some type of, drama in your life where you felt like it took away your freedom. But being creative and expressing yourself
Yeah.
creatively, it now gives you back that freedom. And I'm like, who that's like my ultimate goal. I actually have that word up on in my room, and it is up on the ceiling and it says freedom. And I purposely put it there so that when I'm on my treadmill and I'm walking and I'm running, that I know where my goal is.
Yeah.
And my goal is to have that freedom, that ultimate sense of peace. So
Yeah.
I'm encouraging everyone, who is watching right now. I'm encouraging you to write down some of the areas that get your juices flowing, that you're just really passionate about, and that's your creative side. Now, another question that I want to ask you, Tanya, is I want you to inspire us and give people these words, for those people who say, well, if you say it's for me, why do I have to share it? I'm scared to share it with the world. Why would I do that? Talk
Right.
to us a little bit about that, please.
That's actually really good. When I think about art and me creating it, no matter what it is, first and foremost, I create it for me. Not every time, not every situation, what something that I create is meant to be shared, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be shared. The point of being able to create something is in this way, in being a creative expressively, is to be able to use that to help you, to help you better
Mm-hmm.
understand you, to help you process, to help you on your journey. It's all about self-care, right? So you're doing it first for you. And as long as you are okay with where you are in that moment, you've gotten it out, and you now feel the weight of that trauma, the weight of whatever that drama is, or whatever that circumstance was that may be bringing you down, you're now able to feel lighter because you've gotten it out. And that's
Mm-hmm.
really what it's about. It's about
Yeah.
releasing that negative energy that you may be holding on to, that's manifesting and that's becoming toxic within you. So this allows you to be able to free yourself of it by just releasing it. And people release in so many different ways. Again, if you're writing, then that works for you. Maybe for you it's doing hair and making someone feel beautiful. That's
Mm-hmm.
not something that you necessarily feel like you have to share with the world, but you are, because every time someone leaves your salon, they're
Yeah.
taking your expressive design of that person and the way that person feels afterwards,
Yep.
and they go out into the world and they conquer the day. That's what it's more about. It's helping that way. When I first started doing the work that I do right now in advocacy, it was very difficult for me to share my story in large platforms, right? In front of large audiences, the way that I am now. But I recognized that when it came to healing, it wasn't just about me. It was about the other
Mm-hmm.
person that was sitting in front of me. As a reminder that you see me here before you, that one, you matter. Two,
Mm-hmm.
you're not alone. And three, I promise you that today will be better than tomorrow, will be better than today.
Yeah.
And so just being able to know that I could help one person along the way was enough for me to say, maybe I need to start sharing my story in a much larger platform. but it's still up to me on what to decide what all I'm willing
Yes.
to share. Our performances, and we have tons of performances now that we do. Our performances, because I'm able to change the story, I'm able to tell that story in a different way. So some of it I want to share, but some of it may still be even too graphic or too hurtful for me to want to share with the whole world, you know? So it's about being able to do that in a way that's comfortable for me. And as long as those individuals that are willing to tap into those things that allow them to be creatively free, and they're doing it for themselves first, whether you want to share it with the world or even with just one other individual will come in time. But there should be no
Mm-hmm.
pressure on that. It should be solely up to you. But you deserve it. You owe it to yourself to be able to find those things that you are passionate about and pour your energy into that and focus on healing and happiness and self-care instead of just the negative trauma.
Yes, absolutely. I remember a few years back, I went to a personal development retreat, and one of my coaches, she was orchestrating it, and she had us touch upon that area that was our sore spot. So your sore spot is that story, that trauma, that thing that happened to you that causes you to cringe, that causes you to flinch at the mere mention of it. And she had us to tell that story, to a partner, just straight the way it happened, like just to tell it. And then she had us flip it, and she had us turn it and tell it in different ways.
Mhm.
So, if it was a drama that occurred, she had us to tell it as if it was a comedy. And when
Mhm.
I tell you that this activity ruffled people's feathers, like they were, it's not nothing funny about it. Like they were really upset, and rightfully so, because it was the unusual. It was against the grain of being normal or how we normally tell it. But when you can take a story and now change the narrative of it or the way it's being told. And now you can tell it either as a comedy, you can tell it as a suspense, you can tell it in different ways. What it does is that it allows you to grab your power back from it.
Yes.
So it no
Yes.
longer brings you to tears when you say it. You can say it, even though it's not a funny situation,
Yeah.
you can just change the narrative of it. And I think when people are willing to open their minds to, explore the unknown, you just might tap into that creative healing that I believe that everyone could benefit from. Like,
You're right. Yeah, you're right, Shaniqua. And one of the things that'll stop you from doing that for those people who are of the notion that they're not creative, fear, right?
hmm
Many times we stop doing things because we're afraid. We're afraid
yeah,
that people are going to judge us. We're afraid that people are going to think we're not good enough. They don't like what we have created. Will they judge us or look at us like, oh, why'd you do that? Well, why'd you say
right.
that? Or, and all of that. And it stops us in our tracks. So even if you were thinking about doing something creatively, all of the negative energy around you, all of the naysayers stops you. So I would also say that I would try to encourage you to not allow fear to stop you from, being able to express yourself in a way that you need to, because that's a part of your healing. So,
hmm
and even if you're not a creative person, fear can still stop you. Fear can stop you
yeah.
from going after that next job. Fear can stop you from going back to school. Fear can stop you from, buying that house or doing that thing that you wanted to do. Just don't allow fear to stop you in your track, because that will be the death of an
hmm
individual. You stunt your growth that way. So I think for me, when I got comfortable enough with sharing my story, and feeling good with my creative expressive pieces for myself, it didn't matter what anybody else thought about it. It only
Mm-hmm.
matters to me how I feel about it. How did I feel after I did that? I loved it. I was like, I feel
Yeah.
great. I feel the weight off
Yeah.
my shoulders. And if I only do it one time and I never do it again, I did it. And that's okay. And when I look back and I think about that great thing that I did that was great only just for me, that's when I find free. That's when I
Yeah.
that's ultimately what gives me that warm and fuzzy. And it keeps pushing me on to do the next thing. It doesn't matter what space I'm in. I know that when am frustrated, I'm angry, I can't move forward, I need to start writing. I need to find a way to get it out. And once I think about what I can do in that situation for me, this is just me personally, my creative juices, they start flowing.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, something comes out. And I'll tell you a
Absolutely.
funny story about that. I was having a conversation with my sister, and we were talking about boundaries and safe spaces and healthy
Mm-hmm.
relationships. And a lot of times in families, we automatically assume because we're family, we automatically have the right to that person for life, even if they caused us pain. And I've said
Right.
so many times, absolutely not. So as we were talking about healthy relationships and boundaries, I got another idea for a creative tool, which is one of the things that I also do. I create tools and training games and that kind of thing. So I thought about one, and I was like, "Oh, I got an idea for a game." And I was like, sis, let me talk to you a little bit later. And so so because I was getting frustrated with the conversation that we was having, and I was like, I've got to do
Right.
something else. And so I got off the phone with her and I started writing some things down. And 3 days later, I had the model of a new training tool. And
Wow.
so I called my sister up. I pitched the idea to her, and she was like, "Wait, what? Didn't we just talk about this 3 days later?" And she was like, "Well, I think that actually would be a great idea." I said, "Great, thank you." And I hung up the phone, and
Nice.
because I always appreciate her input. And in less than 10 days, I had a prototype, and was showing
Wow.
it to and her mind was blown. And she said, Tanya,
Mm.
I grew up next to you. We slept in the same room. Our beds were side to side, and I did not realize that you were this creative. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what creative freedom looks like to me. Creative freedom looks like to
Yes.
me taking a situation that's gut wrenching, that's
Mm-hmm.
frustrating, and turning it into something positive. So I channeled that energy from that conversation into something tangible that I'm now able to share with so many people who have said to me just recently at an event, my relationship needs this training tool
Wow.
because it talks about
Wow.
healthy relationships. That's what puts a smile on my face. So I'm like, I'm
Yes.
going to keep on taking this and pouring it into positive works, positive forms of art, creative, expressive pieces. And I'm going to continue on my journey. And I just hope that everyone embraces that concept of being creative as a way to heal.
Absolutely. We want to make certain that people are receiving and, just really tapping into who it is that they were born to be and designed to be. And that was just so good. Now, Tanya, before I let you go, I need you to just share with us a little bit, if you will, about the work, the great work that it sounds that you're doing in your company, Interactive Advocacy. Tell us a little bit more about that, please.
Yes, ma'am. So, Interactive Advocacy is a violence prevention training organization, and we use theatrics as our form of approach. And we recognize that there is no society in reality that trauma or violence does not exist. And armed with that, I wanted to use comedy and drama and unparalleled storytelling as a way of helping people cope with the toxic behaviors that are impacting our communities. And we travel all over the globe, and we work with organizations and work with schools and communities that are willing to create those cultural shifts when it comes to those toxic behaviors. A lot of times, it's really about getting to the root of healthy relationships, communication, talking to one another. And people are tired of seeing just another PowerPoint presentation. It's not
True.
very impactful. So the takeaway is they're really small. But by being able to showcase these tough topics, we're talking about some very serious stuff, not just sexual assault, but suicide prevention, domestic violence, human trafficking, drug and alcohol abuse. We're talking about some pretty serious stuff. But it makes it more palatable. It makes it easier in a safe space environment for people to be comfortable enough to talk about it. And we talk about it in real world. You have to meet people where they are. So many different ways. So we try to tap into it with our audience, get them to poke fun at us, poke fun at themselves, but ultimately get them engaged. Our training is bold, it's provocative, but again, it's impactful, and it's always going to be done in a safe space. And we enjoy the work that we do. We're a team of creatives and passionate individuals about social justice awareness, and that's pretty much what we do. And by doing it this way, by telling all of these stories this way, makes it easier for our audience to understand and also be committed to act. And that's actively create transformation.
Oh, that sounds phenomenal. So, so good. Tanya, again, I thank you so much for just being here, for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I've got your social media handles going on. She is on YouTube. So, you all, while you're here checking this out, make certain you go on her YouTube channel as well. Do you have anything that you're working on? Anything up and coming that you like? Because I know you got a couple of books. You got a couple of books because we've been in the talks about these books. So I can't wait for these books to
Yes,
come through.
yes,
But anything
yes.
else that you're working on in the near future that we should keep our eyes on?
Yes, so we're actually working on a very new project. I wish that I could share it, but I can't share it yet. But we are working on a very big project for us at Interactive Advocacy. We're super excited about it. I don't know how much I can share yet about it, but
I
all
don't
I
want
would
you to
say
get in
is just
trouble, but
stay,
tell
yeah,
us something.
yeah. I would just say stay tuned to Interactive Advocacy on all of our social media platform and kind of see
Yeah.
some of the work that we're working on. We are getting ready to be IVAC, the Institute of Violence, Abuse, and Trauma, to do one of our performances there called Trauma Ruck. So we're really excited about that. That talks about understanding the long-term impacts of trauma. So we're really excited about getting a chance to do that performance. But I would just say stay tuned. And before I go, I just want to remind each and every single one of your viewers, everyone that's watching us today, you absolutely matter. You matter. And, just continue to be unstoppable with every single thing that you do.
Yes. Thank you so much, Tanya. That that was so, so good. I just feel it all in my soul, even though I knew it was going to be a good conversation. But I'm so grateful that we were able to take the time. And I promise you, this will not be the last time. If I got to rope her in, I got to go through every power that be. We will definitely be hearing from Tanya again soon because she just has so much wisdom to be able to share. And what I love about you, Tanya, is that you show up each and every time as your authentic self. Like you're not like anyone else and you embrace your uniqueness. And I love every ounce. When I tell you every drip drop, every ounce of it. So thank you for being who you are and staying true to the calling God has gifted you with.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, everybody. Listen, that was so, so good. I hope that you all have enjoyed this segment. I mean, yeah, was that not just divine? That was so divine. And I know people needed to hear that. So make certain you take those marching orders that Tanya gave us and know that you are enough and go forward and make certain that you get your creative healing. So I again am your hostess, Sheniqua Inspires. Thank you for tuning in to today's segment of the Black Girl Inspire Her. Listen, while you're here on my YouTube channel, make certain you check out the other series, The Black Girl Motivate Her, The Black Girl Encourage Her, and I've got my podcast, Sisterly Sundays podcast, on here as well. I want you all to make certain that you apply what it is that you're watching, you're seeing, you're taking notes, and I hope that you're inspired to take action as well. Until next time, you all, you have a wonderful evening and God bless.